Hello, entrepreneurs, founders, and promoters. My name is Ram Mundra, and welcome back. In our series Finance for Entrepreneurs, our first presentation was titled Know Your Numbers. Through that presentation, we laid down the foundational financial building blocks covering key concept of core financial statements, that is profit and loss account, balance sheet, and cash flow statement. If you missed that first video or need a quicker refresher, make sure you check out the link in the description below. We have given the link in the description of this presentation. Today we are taking the next step. We are going to build directly on those fundamentals and deep dive into how we can apply those strategies, tools to scale your business operations effectively. Let us jump right in. Yeah, today is our second presentation and we are going to deep dive into cost and break-even point. The title of today's class is Know Your Break-Even. The title of first class was Know Your Numbers, and today the title is Know Your Break-Even, because understanding your break-even point is absolutely necessary and vital to the survival and growth of your business. Simply put, break-even means the exact point where your total revenue equals to your total cost, meaning you make zero profit, but you suffer zero loss. It is a baseline every business owner must cross to achieve profitability. The profit will start once you cross this baseline. To give you a realistic and practical understanding of unit economics, margins, and yield in diamond and colorstone studded gold jewelry, this presentation is built around a single unified case study of a jewelry manufacturing company. I had to choose one industry, so I have chosen jewelry manufacturing company. So we will talk about, and you can expect as we talk through this together, operational model. We will follow the complete manufacturing journey, starting from raw material procurement like gold, alloy, diamonds, gemstones, all the way up to finished studded pieces. Cost breakdown. We will examine real world costs including metal loss, labor, casting loss, setting charges, and gemstone yield and other costs. Financial application. Finally, we will see how this manufacturing model ties together to show how production costs directly drive your pricing strategy, and let us look at how these elements break down. Moving on, by the end of this session, you will walk away with three key outcomes. That is my promise to you. Master jewelry factory economics. You will gain a very clear understanding of how raw materials, labor, and overhead combined within a real world manufacturing setup. Classify fixed versus variable cost. You will learn how to clearly differentiate expenses that scale with production from your fixed factory overhead, and calculate break-even targets. Finally, you will be able to determine the exact unit sales or the revenue required to cover your monthly operating cost. And of course, after that, you build on profitability. Let us dive into all these three objectives. Now, to analyze our manufacturing economics, we must first understand how costs behave as our factory output changes. We break expenses down into three core categories. These are very simple ones. Fixed cost. These are the costs that remains completely constant regardless of your monthly production volume. Whether you make one piece of jewelry or 1,000, your direct monthly salaries, fixed factory rent, and other core administrative overheads stay the same. Second one is a variable cost. These are the expenses that scale directly with the production volume. If production goes up, those costs go up proportionately. Think of precious metals consumed. It is gold, diamond, gemstone, breakage, plating material, and all that. They move up proportionately. And the third one is a semi-variable cost, or we can call it mixed cost. These expenses contain both a baseline fixed component and a variable usage component. For example, Factory electricity has a baseline utility connection fee plus a variable rate depending on how long the machines run. Another great example I may give, sales and bench commissions, where artisans or workers or sales staff receive a fixed salary plus piece rate incentive as production or sales increases. Understanding these three cost behaviors is crucial before we calculate our true break-even point. Let us break down each one further to understand our break-even point. Moving on and building on direct raw material cost. Let us zoom into our first key variable cost component, direct raw material cost in jewelry manufacturing. This is not about the physical weight of finished piece. It also accounts for the inevitable process loss along the way. We break raw material down into three major categories. Number one, precious metal inputs and losses. First, we have metal consumption, that is net weight of gold, platinum or silver in the final product. Secondly, we must account for melting and casting losses. This includes melting wastage, unrecoverable refining loss, and filing dust captured during finishing. So this is important. Second is a gemstone inputs and process losses. Gemstone means, color stones. We track total diamond consumption, of course diamond. We track total diamond consumption alongside setting breakage or clipping losses during the stone setting phases. Similarly, we factor in color stone consumption and process leakages, especially for softer or fragile gemstones. Right? Number three is a finishing and plating chemical consumables. Beyond metal and stones, we have essential process consumables like alloys, rhodium, plating, gold flex plating, etc. We also account for production consumables like polishing compounds, crucibles, waxes, rubber mold required to produce each of these units. Factoring in both raw inputs and operational losses gives you your true raw material cost per piece. And those account for these costs are very, very important. Yeah. Now we further break down how we quantify these direct raw material costs in practice. Say net raw material inputs. To start with, true fine gold weight actually retained in the finished piece plus the physical diamond and color stone counts. That is the material which is gone into the making jewelry. Okay. In addition to that, unrecoverable process losses. Next, we must account for non-recoverable losses. In case of gold, casting and filing polishing loss. Fine gold dust loss during melting, filing and buffing typically runs between 2 to 4%. Sometimes it may be even higher. Diamond and gemstone setting breakages. So chipping and cracking allowances during high pressure bench setting usually average 2% for diamonds and up to 4% for color stones. Cost of alloys. We also factor in the alloy grain added to fine gold to achieve structural integrity and produce, say, for example, 18K yellow, white or rose gold. So the cost of alloy is also important. And number four is process consumables and chemical finishing. Finally, we include essential process consumables such as investment powder, injection waxes, graphite crucibles, rhodium electroplating solutions, cleaning bath, etc. etc. So the key principle to remember, never price your jewelry using only finished metal weight and stone cost. Unaccounted process loss and consumables will quickly destroy your gross margin. So it's very important when you price your jewelry to your end customer, you account for all these losses also, in addition to the actual material went into production of jewelry. Yeah. To understand it better, let us understand by way of an example. Let us put this into a concrete model using a benchmark base of $100 gross selling price. So for a particular piece of jewelry, say selling price is $100. Here is how our revised material and loss cost breakdown. Gold component, say 42% of the cost of gold in the finished jewelry Adjusting our best gold allocation to 42%, so the cost will be the $40. We add around 3% process loss, that is $1.26. This brings out total gold cost is not 42 but 43.26. Similarly, in case of diamond and color stone component, say 38% is the cost of diamond and color stone in the finished goods. Setting our gemstone allocation to 38%, that is $38 in $100 sale value of jewelry. We had say 2% stone breakage allowance, and that is $0.76, that is 76 cents. So giving us the total component cost of $38.76. And the third one is alloy, rhodium, and consumables. So say we are incurring 3% on account of wax, crucibles, rhodiums, and etc. So when we total everything, the base material cost remains as around $83. Okay, $83 is the base material cost, and our combined process loss, which we have seen, we have just discussed, comes out to $2.02 per piece. This brings our total variable cost of $85.02. Okay, and not the 83, right? Subtracting this total variable cost of $85 from $100, you get a net contribution margin of about $15. That is 15%. Okay, let us understand this in by way of a table in the next slide. Let's see. Yeah, whatever we discussed in the previous slide, I have created a table and which is pasted on the slide. You can see the table on the current slide, which is on the screen. The total sale price is say $100, and the raw material consumed is 83. But if we add the loss of $2, it becomes 85. Okay, and the net contribution margin is 15%. So what is the key executive principle here? Never price jewelry using only finished metal weight and stone cost. Unaccounted process loss and consumables destroy the gross margin. So the message here is that you have to account for the losses which the factory or the manufacturing process incurred during the process of manufacturing. Okay, so far we have been talking about the theory. Let us transition from a theory to practice with a real-time case study of a jewelry factory. Over the next few slides, we will look at this factory's actual operating period, tracking total sales, breaking down raw material consumption, calculating exact net contribution margin earned per gram. The ultimate goal here is to determine whether the contribution margin generated by unit sales is truly sufficient to cover overheads, fixed cost and variable cost, finance cost, and depreciation. Let us see in next few slides. So what are we going to do? We will review the following: the operational performance of an active jewelry manufacturing facility. Our key focus area would be overall top line from sales. What is the direct cost, which is raw material, gold, diamond, alloy, and all related cost? What is the unit economics? What is the contribution earned, out of the total grammage produced? And the objective is to assess whether the net contribution pool is sufficient to cover fixed overhead, variable overhead, financing, and depreciation. Let us look at the numbers. Yeah, before we get into the discussion mode, just look at the table which is there on the screen. Just spend few seconds on this table. Yeah, what is the highlight of this table? We can see that there is a healthy margin. It's delivering about 30% of net contribution margin, which is, say, in terms of total amount, it is $5 like 80,000, or per gram is $26 per gram. Cost structure, you find that the total material cost is about 67%. Gold, out of that, gold is 53 and diamond is about 14%. Variable cost is 3% total variable overhead. Okay, so there's a healthy gross margin, right? After we reduce the variable cost, in addition to the raw material cost, we find 30% is the good margin. So as we can see, the 30% net contribution margin, which is $26 per gram, is a very healthy line item margin, correct? However, the total amount of $580,000 is the gross pool of the funds available to cover the operational overheads, which is direct, indirect, fixed, fixed cost, finance charges, depreciation, etc. So let us move to the next slide to evaluate how much of this contribution flows down to bottom line net profit. Okay. Yeah. Again, I request you to spend a few seconds on the table which is given in the slide. When we compare our manufacturing expenses against the actual contribution generated based on our actual production volume of 22,000 gram, three critical messages emerge that define our current financial reality. The total dollar deficit, as you can see from this table, the total expenses is about 1.07 million US dollar, 10,70,000 US dollar, whereas our total gross contribution generated, as we have seen in the previous slide, is only $580,000. This leaves an operational shortfall of about $500,000, right? $500,000. To be precise, $490,510. Now there is a unit economics disconnect. On a per gram basis, our total factory expenses come out to $48.47 per gram, while our contribution generated is only 26.26 gram, right? Just see the number. We have seen 26.26 gram in the previous slide. So we are spending $48.47 per gram to generate $26.26 per gram as a contribution. So every single gram produced will give you the loss of $22.21 per gram. So there is a margin percentage deficit. In percentage terms, our contribution covers only 54% of our fixed and operational overhead, leaving 46% margin deficit. The bottom line here is this setup is currently loss-making manufacturing operations, but identifying the exact magnitude of this gap is the first step towards fixing it. So in the subsequent slide, we will examine and evaluate the strategic levers required to fix this issue and how we can convert, what are the options available with us to convert these loss-making units first to achieve the break-even point and then build profit around it. Let us see and see in the next slides. Now, as we've seen in last 2-3 slides, that there is a deficit of about $500,000, and I propose there are 3 options. Okay, there could be more options, but let us evaluate. There are 3 options. Option 1, volume scaling. If we keep our current contribution rate untouched at $26 per gram, we need an additional 18,679 gram. That is growth of 85% roughly to cover our total factory overhead of 1.07 million US dollar. And basis this, the total sales required is of 40,761 gram, generating a total sales revenue of 3.56 billion. That is increase about 1.63 million US dollar over current sales. So this is option 1. So option 2. So margin improvement. How we can improve margin from current margin of say $26 per gram to $30 per gram. If you optimize our expenses making charges, labor expenses, metal recovery, improvement in metal recovery and then as a result, the contribution becomes from 26 to 30 gram. Our required volume expansion drops to an additional 13,500 gram. That is 61%, as against 85% we have seen in the last slide. What we have seen in the option 1. Okay, so the total sales required here is 35,679 gram, generating a total sales revenue of 3.12 million US dollar, an increase of about 1.2 million over current sales, right? Which was, this number was higher, about 1.6 million plus in our last option 1. We have seen in the last slide. Okay, let us move to the option 3. Expenses optimization. If we can reduce our expenses from say 1.07 million US dollar to say $900,000 or 0.9 million US dollar. If we maintain our current contribution of $26 per gram, while cutting factory operating expenses from 1.07 million US dollar to 0.9 million US dollar, our volume shortfall drops to an additional 12,000 gram, that is 55% growth over current level, and the total sales required would be 34,000 grams, generating a total sales revenue of 3 million, about additional sales of about 1.07 million over current sales. So I have presented these 3 scenarios. There could be more, okay, and I request all of you to think through, and because this is not even this is very simple, I mean to say, and anyone can think through, and it's very simple exercise that if you start and if you do any business, the first benchmark has to achieve no profit, no loss, and if you achieve that first, then only you can make profit over the benchmark operations. So in last 3 slides, we have seen the 3 options and what is the recommendation, what is my recommendation. So it should be a hybrid model advantage. While option 1 relies purely on sales volume scaling 85%, a hybrid approach combining option 2 and option 3, that is trimming down expenses to 900,000 while lifting making charges realization to 30 gram from current level of 26 to $30, sorry, from the current level of $26, brings our break-even point target down to just 30,000 grams from current grammage of 22,000, requiring total sales of 2.62 million, or a modest 36% increase over current sales. This makes reaching break-even and transitioning into profitability far easier and quicker to achieve. So, on a standalone basis, relying on any single option may not be realistic and achievable. Sustainable profitability requires a multi-faceted approach where we execute across every variable simultaneously. So we have to work on various factors simultaneously. So say raising realization prices, optimizing variable cost, driving operational efficiencies, and strictly reducing overhead expenses. Pulling all these levers together ensures we eliminate our deficit and build a resilient, highly profitable manufacturing operations. So we have to take a hybrid approach, right? Yeah. So far we have seen that how a loss-making jewelry factory can be made profitable by way of 3 options, and then we finally said we'll go for a hybrid approach. So there is a twist in the story. Yeah. So a change in perspective. Let us see what is that twist. So the twist here is very simple. Matching real cost of sourcing of consumed production to avoid overstating diamond inventory and profitability. So the main, other than gold, the main raw material is say diamond in diamond studded gold jewelry. I am giving you one scenario. The diamond sizes say 3 to 4, between 3 to 4 were required for active jewelry orders. Due to market known availability of isolated sizes, a 100 carat bulk parcel comprising sizes 2 to 7. Our requirement was 3 to 4, but the total mixed parcel of 2 to 7 had to be procured. Okay, just to give you a perspective, 1 carat weight is 0.2 gram, means 5 carat equals 1 gram. The diamonds are measured in carats. So the production utilization in this scenario, 70 carat of size 3 to 4 were extracted out of the total parcel, studded into finished jewelry and sold as a part of studded jewelry. So what was the residual stock? The remaining 30 carat. 100 was procured, 70 was used, and 30 carat was remaining. And of course, whatever was remaining was not the size of 3 to 4. It was odd size, which is 2, 5, 6, and 7. It consists of off size, lower demand diamonds, continuing to hold this residual stock at the original average parcel cost creates a artificial assets inflation. So let us understand in the next slide by way of a table. Our funda will be clearer. Yeah. To understand the true profitability of a production batch, we cannot look at the consumed inventory in isolation when residual stock on hand loses its market value. For instance, dropping from an initial cost of $100 per carat down to $60 carat, that is $40 carat loss, which is equivalent to $1,200 in total, cannot simply sit in our balance sheet as an inflated asset value. In the meantime, I also request you simultaneously to look at the table which is given on the slide. Understand standard accounting practice where net realizable value or lower of cost or market, that should be the method of valuation of inventory. That $200 write down must be absorbed directly by the batch that generated or caused the residual deterioration. Let us look at how this impacts our cost of goods sold and true carrying value. Now, from this table, what is the takeaway? Now, number one is a balance sheet integrity. By revaluing the remaining 30 carat at $60 per carat, that is total $1,800 valuation instead of $3,000, we ensure our inventory asset is not artificially inflated in the balance sheet. Second, true cost booking. The $1,200 write down increases our effective cost of goods sold from $7,000 to $8,200. This gives us an exact fully absorbed cost required to determine accurate profit margin on the finished goods. So what is the message here? Don't just count what is used. Also account for what is left behind. So the deterioration of residual inventory value should also be added to the raw material consumption. Okay, so that is the message. So that was the one twist. Let us see the another twist. So there is one more twist. Okay, this twist is about precious metal, which is gold, platinum, and other precious metals, and it's all about pricing, sourcing, and hedging. In manufacturing, particularly in jewelry operations, we face a very core operational issue. What is that issue? Input cost stability varies drastically across materials. While diamonds values move very relatively slowly, their prices, raw gold prices fluctuate hourly and daily on daily basis, right? Here lies the core business risk. If customer order pricing is not strictly synchronized with the physical gold procurement, a manufacturing enterprise stops being a controlled manufacturing business and it becomes an involuntary commodity speculator. Okay, and I don't think we are in the business of speculation. Unhedged timing gap of profit margin, and why dynamic valuation and pricing alignment are essentials. A manufacturer's profit should come from value added craftsmanship and operational efficiency from the manufacturing operations and not from unmanaged commodity exposure. Right? So the key messages for the management are strict cost synchronization. We must lock our physical gold procurement or execute price fixing contract at the exact moment customer orders are finalized. Number two, dynamic profit and loss adjustment. Just as we adjust residual inventory, which we have seen in last slide. So as we adjust residual inventory carrying value down to net realizable value, raw gold price shift must also be reflected immediately in our cost accounting and financial accounting. So gross margin accurately reflect market reality. Okay. So what is the impact of not doing this exercise or doing this exercise? If we buy high rate gold and sell at low, it destroys manufacturing gross margins. It impacts profitability on a negative side. If we buy low at low price and sells at high, it generates high profit, but hides underlying manufacturing performance. It hides the underlying manufacturing inefficiencies, right? So what is the takeaway? A jewelry manufacturer should never rely on raw material price gains to subsidize manufacturing margins. So it's very important that we control and we monitor the gold purchase prices and the sale prices. Of course, sale is a part of gold studded diamond jewelry. Yeah. Yes. So what should be the rule of thumb? Fix the customer price and lock the raw gold on the exact same day. If back-to-back physical procurement is not possible, use a financial hedge and pass the hedging charges directly to the sale price. Never leave gold unhedged. What is hedging? That is itself is a big subject, and we must understand that separately. It's not possible, it's a very, very long subject. But you lock your gold is important. And here we go. So there is a final twist. No more twist. This is the final one. Okay. Yeah. As I promised you that this is the final twist, and final twist is very, very simple. And this is the core business rule. Uncollected revenue becomes a bad debts. Delayed revenue, delayed collection becomes an interest expenses. And both hit profit and loss account, cash flow, and destroy profit margins. This is the final twist. Yeah. Thank you so much for walking through those unit economics and inventory valuation concepts with me. Having a clear line of sight on cost structures and inventory accuracy is the backbone of strong financial decision making. That brings us directly to our focus on the next class, that is the class number 3, and subject is managing capital and liquidity risk. That will be in class number 3. If you find value in today's presentation, please support the channel by hitting the like button. It really helps others discover this content. Don't forget to share this video with your colleagues and fellow business owners who might benefit from this. And subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next class. Thank you once again for watching, and I look forward in seeing you in the next session. Thank you once again, and namaste.